Ba 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 ba. Ba da 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 da. Howdy, folks. Happy Thursday to you. Anyway, sorry, I don't know why I'm singing a song. I'm just getting myself prepared here, seeing what's a going on. Okay, let's see. Okay, I'm just gonna send out my little notifications here. Try to keep my iPad from falling asleep. No, 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 I just want to. Can I copy this? Oh, copy the clipboard. Okay. Okay. Doodle Thursday is starting in a few. Doodle Thursday is starting in. Okay. Can I do that? Jeez, you gotta be kidding me with this thing. I mean, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Don't get irritable. Make sure your iPad doesn't go to sleep. Otherwise, I have to restart the mirroring program, which is okay. I'm not necessarily complaining. I'm just saying it's easier if I don't have to unlock the thing and start it over. So I'm going to try not to. I don't think would that actually matter? Probably not, but that's okay. Let's just do this. Okay, let me copy this. No, I want to copy it all. Copy. Go. Bang. Okay, let me jump to here. Make my iPad up. There we go. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay, I've posted there. Okay, and let's post it here. Bang, bang. Starting a few. Not that I expect to have too many people listening, but that's okay. I don't do things for the views. I don't, 'cause chasing views is a fool's errand. I will give this a few minutes just in case anybody pops on, since I just blasted it out into every possible place, I think. All the discords that I think will care, maybe, and on the tweeters, for so long as the tweeters are, you know, what they are. Who knows? There was a news item I saw earlier about a bunch of high-level execs being ousted. Not actually, ousted is the right word. If you're asked to resign, I mean, ousted, I guess, maybe if you're, I don't know, what constitutes, if anything, the difference between ousted in the terms of being asked to leave, which to me is the same thing, but maybe I mean, I know legalese it isn't. I understand that it legally isn't. But to me, it's the same thing. If somebody tells you, "Hey, we want you to resign," to me, that is being ousted, isn't it? Seems like it. So I apologize. I'm gonna have a sip of water here. So I guess a little ASMR for the people who are fans of that. So here we go. Mm, water, except I don't make a lot of noise when I drink water, so I guess not so ASMR after all. Yeah. So some Twitter people, Gonzo, high level people, which I guess not abnormal for an acquisition, but still probably I would say concerning to people who would like to see Twitter largely stay as it is. I mean, with improvements, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I like Twitter. And if this really is the beginning of the end, and I know a lot of people are cheering for it to be the beginning of the end. They want this to be kind of the end for it. And I understand that impulse, especially for people who've been on the lousy end of harassment and I mean, funny enough, the person who's buying it, if you say anything negative about him, there are countless people who will come to his defense and will call you the fool for not being able to get on board with his vision of the world. And so I get it, but yeah, I don't know. But yeah, ousted. I don't know. I don't know what ousted. I mean, some people I think would take ousted to be a more militant or more active thing where you're literally escorted, which I have seen. I have actually in my life. At one time I saw somebody at a high level walked out of a building with security, which is not something. that I ever expected to see in my life, but I did see it one time, and it was quite a sight because I don't think that individual was expecting it. That was the definition of an ouster. So anyway, let's go ahead and roll our little intro thing here because it's been about 5 minutes. So anybody who was going to show up, I would assume would have. So let's do our little starting soon thing. Which, is there a point when there's no audience? I don't know. I'm the audience for this, I guess. So we're going to keep on doing our little blob illustration for a bit here. Uh, and see how long. The only problem with this setup is I just really can't get what would be described as an ergonomic setup happening. So I can't do this for a particularly long time. But, whatever. Make it work. So let's see here. Okay. And now 10-second mark. So we're going to have a fade out happening. And then we'll go over to the actual. I really should rename this scene. It's not gameplay technically because it isn't. Okay, and here we go. All right, so why is the iPad showing up? Oh man, did I do it wrong? Hold on. I don't know why it's not showing. Huh. Well, I guess that's what I get. Where is the actual? Oh, I wonder if do I have to select this thing every time? I mean, it's not a big deal if I do. It's just kind of weird. There it goes. Okay, save. Well, hopefully, yeah, all right, I was able to do that midstream. I don't know. I guess I have to prep that every time. Maybe because it's not an active thing, I have to actually set it up. Whatever, that's fine. Not a big deal. Just something to keep in mind for next time. Luckily, there's nobody sitting here with bated breath or anything, or, in some way that I would have any kind of obligation, so I'm not really too worried about it. Okay, so back to the blobs. All right, so last time we did the eyeballs themselves. They're little containing folds. So let's see, shadow lines, blob lines. Yep. Eyeballs. That does not include their containing thingies. That's these. Are these all done? Let's take a quick look. Appears so. Let's turn off the sketch lines though, just to have a nice clean look at it. Yeah, looks like it. I mean, if there are any that I missed, it would not be entirely difficult to fix that. Fist it. No, that's not what I meant. Fix it in post was where I was trying to go with that when I detoured into slightly PG-13 area. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to, yeah, all right, we're good there. These are the lines. We're going to go ahead and incorporate those, merge them down. We're going to move these into the eyeball space because they are technically part of the eyeballs. So now we turn the eyeballs off, the folds go away as well. So now interiors. So let's go ahead and create another layer here. We're going to move this 30 above that. One thing I wonder is why they don't iterate layers in Procreate. I don't really care, don't get me wrong, but it's sort of weird how it does that. All right, let's switch over to pure black. This may change later. And let's take a look at our inking lines and see what weight we're at. Oh, no. That is way too heavy. Not my pen. Okay. I'm going to drop down. I don't remember. Did I use 5 for those or 3? Must have been 5 because that's definitely not the same. So we'll go to 5. Check that weight. Here we go. That looks right. Yep. Okay, so now let's see. I think now what we're going to do is create sort of radiating ripples coming out from the eyes. Oh, you know what I was doing? I started making the, what do you call it, didn't I? I kind of remember doing the, didn't I put the, did I not put the, oh, I stopped because I was doing them wrong. Yeah, I started putting the actual shine on the eyes and I realized that I was doing them wrong. So, yeah, so we're going to fill, these eyes are going to be filled. So what we're going to do is, as our light source is, as you can see at the bottom right there, we need to not have, see how the reflection's in the wrong space? Light reflection wouldn't be there if your light source is there. So we need to correct that, which we will do right in the thing, and we'll just make some nice wide, or not wide, but I guess, oh wait, okay, so let me see. So that would be a little angled. So we'll make this. Now these I'm not going to worry too much about edges on because, sorry, because these are going to be black or some color. So I'm not too worried. And if they're another color, then I will end up colorizing these lines. You know what I mean? So it's not so important, although I will still try. But the clean lines are not as big a deal when you're talking about something that is going to end up probably being black or a color. So, no, that needs to be more angled. I'm not so worried about that. I mean, I'm not going to just make sloppy stuff, but it's not as critical to have things quite as clean for something like this, for this particular application. All right, so we'll do that. And I mean, I could even do this as an eraser. I could just make it, I could fill it with its color and do eraser lines, but I like drawing these little things in. I kind of find it fun. So let's see here. My dog is grabbing a toy, so you may hear some squeaking because she wants to get my attention. But yeah, I can hear the squeaking. I don't know if you can. So angle of the light. This one would also be angled, or crinkling, I guess would be the right word. I don't know if the headphones will pick it up. But it is there nonetheless. Okay. Now, if you were trying to be strict about this, you would want the bubbles to probably actually, they're not badly aligned. That's not bad. No, I don't have any problem with that. I was going to say to have them more kind of lined up, but perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. This is not meant to be some kind of still life thing. Obviously, it's a giant blob of eyes, so I'm not exactly shooting for realism on this one. So it's okay if these things do not look exactly perfect. That's perfectly okay. Sorry, I used the word perfect and perfectly within two sentences. Just sounds terrible. All right, I'll put a little thing there. And we'll put a little guy here. And these are just to add a little bit of, textural flavor. Now, because this one here has this thing there, I'm not even going to bother with, because that light would be obscured. So I don't know if there'll be any light on that eye. Now, again, this is not going for realism, but still, you don't want to have things that look blatantly incorrect. Although, that's one of those things where you wonder who would even notice. Artists would notice. Other artists would notice it, especially if they're nitpicky types, the grammar Nazi types of artists. They'd say, well, technically, there's an obstruction to that eyeball, therefore there would not be a shine on the eyeball. And they would be correct, but I just don't care. Hmm. Of course, I just said that, and then it occurred to me that I could be using the perspective tool to actually line these up relatively. But you know what? That's not the point. The point is not to make a perfect image. I mean, if I'm going to get hung up on that, then come on. So we're just going to have a good time with this. We're going to take the Alex Rocks. Well, maybe if I could ever pronounce his name, not Alex Ross. Alex Ross is the perfectionist. The Bob Ross. Jeez, man. You'd think at this point in my life I could keep names straight. But yeah, we're going to take the Bob Ross method, where there's no such thing as a bad. There's just happy little accidents. So things just happen the way they happen. We're not going to worry about it. I can't necessarily. Oh no, okay, that one's too. No, those are too angled. I mean, they still got to be somewhat within the realm of. Yeah, that's better. I mean, I can't be completely nuts with these things. No, I don't like that one either. Gonna make that a little more. This is where I should be using grid lines. If I was smart, I'd be using grid lines. But I haven't been smart for most of my life. What? Geez, man, I'm really off on that one. But you know what? This is exactly how this stuff goes. This is the one thing that really is great about. No, I don't like that. One thing that is wonderful about art, and the one thing that I remember, oh man, it's the teachers telling me is, you don't get too concerned with it. Creation in itself is the thing. Okay, I gotta lean forward to read this. Happy Little Eyeballs. Yes, they are. Lover of Lost Souls. I don't recognize that name, so I don't know if you're somebody that just happened upon the channel, or if you're in one of the Discords or on Twitter or where, but welcome. As I believe the only person viewing, yes, you get to see Happy Little Eyeballs, which is, what it is. Can't pretend it's anything more special than what it is. All right, angle here. Throw a little bit of shiny ball there. Actually, I don't know if they're happy eyeballs. I can't really gauge. A creature like this may not experience happiness and sadness the way that mortals do. Perhaps it's better off that way. But we can assume it's happy. It's existing, which I guess is better than the alternative. Okay, so our two eyeballs that have. Nope, nope, we missed a couple. Not we, I missed a couple. I'm not going to blame you, the audience. You are spectators. I cannot try to pawn off my errors on you. Okay, I think all the eyeballs that should have reflections, I believe now do. Okay, so we have our eyeball reflections. Okay, so now that's its own layer, right? Well, that's okay. That's on that layer. That's fine. Let me see something here. Uh, hold on a minute. My dog just reacted to something, so let me just make sure that there's nothing going on I gotta worry about. Let's do a quick check. No, we're fine. No, no. Just making sure there was nothing that had to be addressed. You're fine. I don't know what you heard, but everything is okay. Try to keep the animal calm. Animal calm, me calm. All right, so this layer 30 is going to be our wrinkly whatever layer. All right, so let's see. So basically, as it exists separately, I'm not going to worry too much about it being um, uh, the exterior eyeball shine. Yeah, you know what? Let's go ahead and do those. Let's do those. We're already doing eyeball shines. Let's just keep going with it. So do an eyeball here, little bubble there. These I do want to be a little cleaner because these will be visible. Actually, I wonder if I should use a thinner weight for that. I'm going to use a thinner weight for that. On some layer. So we're going to drop down to a 3. This will be our final weight because I think I've only used 1, 2. Yeah, this will be third weight. Okay, so let's get this lined up. And we'll do, there we go. You know, these should be relatively where the other ones are. They don't have to be exactly. I mean, nothing has to be exactly, but, you know, kind of in the vicinity. But it doesn't have to be a perfect thing. I apologize, by the way, if this is causing any kind of motion sickness for people, because I'm aware I'm kind of zooming in and out, but that's just how I work. So sorry about that if it is. It's not intentional. I just don't know how else to do this stuff. So kind of just have to go with the way I do things, you know, which, like I said, I'm not trying to make anybody be ill, but I know there's a lot of zooming in and out. And that's because I don't have a cohesive way of working. I just kind of bounce from thing to thing. It's how I usually am. I mean, honestly, just drawing one image for a long amount of time is sort of strange for me because usually I'll have 3 or 4 things I'm working on, and I will just bounce between them. I don't generally. It's almost like an ADHD thing, which it could be. I really don't know. I would suspect that I would be diagnosed as ADHD at this point. I mean, they didn't really do that when I was young. They basically just told you to shut up and pay attention. So they weren't so big on trying to figure out why you might be having a problem. They figured that the problem was whatever it was, and you would figure it out because it was your problem. So, yeah, whoa, that eyeball. No, 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 that's all wrong. That one's okay. No, wait, no, 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 these are bad. No, that one was okay. That one was okay. No, actually, that one wasn't. You know what? I am going to do this. I'm going to do this for this. Hold on a minute. Just for this, because I don't want this thing to get too out of control. So what we're going to do is we'll use the, what is it, the perspective one? Bang. Yeah, okay. We're going to use this just because that way I don't have to keep zooming out and in if I have the guidelines. Okay, let me get these guys. Let me get this thing there. That's close enough. This really doesn't have to be too precise. I'm going to black line it. And thickness can be, actually, thickness doesn't have to be all that thick. I could do it at 50%. And the opacity is fine. And we do a done on that. That will give me some guide work here. So see, I can see these lines enough that I can have a sense of where things are supposed to be. Okay, I'm on the right layer, right? Yes. Okay. Again, it's not really a matter of doing this to be precise. I just don't want things to look grossly incorrect. So you don't want the angles to be way off. I mean, not where it doesn't look consistent or abnormal, you know? So this is just a good way to keep myself in check because it does, you know, especially with all the eyeballs and rotating around, it's very simple not simple. It's not hard, better way to put it, to kind of get out of whack with where things are. So, you know, it doesn't hurt to do this stuff. You know, it took me a long time, I'll be honest, a long time to get out of this idea. And I think it's just because when I was younger and when I was kind of learning to draw and stuff like that, I just, you know, you didn't have Twitter, you didn't have all these social avenues where you could interface with other artists. You know, I mean, you'd have to go to a convention or some kind of comic book show to see artists sometimes. but you didn't have an easy way to communicate. It's not like you had their phone number or anything. You just call them up. Hey, Jim Lee, listen, I got a question for you on how to do this. Oh yeah, sure. Let me tell you how to do it. Yeah, all right. That didn't exist unless, of course, you were in the industry and knew these people. So one of the things that I always kind of these artificial barriers or requirements that I put on myself, and I think a lot of people do or did, maybe not so much now, that there is more of an ability to connect with a community of people. It's a lot easier now than it was. Is I would tell myself that I had to use reference points. I would say, no, no, you have to be able to, like drawing from memory. That was a big thing. I felt like a failure for a long time, as like I wasn't really a good artist because I couldn't remember anatomy right out of everything. And that's nonsense. I mean, it's just, particularly when you're starting out, but even people, look, you can very easily, I'm not going to name names or anything, but you can go find them if you want to. You can find ample uh, evidence of artists who have worked for a long time that have no command of anatomy. And you know what? When I was younger, I think I was more critical of that. Now I sit here and go, you know what? It really doesn't matter. Storytelling is the point of art and illustration in many cases. I mean, you can aspire to create a perfect still life that is, one-to-one accurate. What you're seeing is what you're rendering to the image. Okay, fine. There are people who want that is for them what art is. That's fine. I'm not going to tell anybody what art is or isn't. I'm not going to tell them what their goal should be or should not be. But for me, I really have recalibrated as I've gotten older to what the goal of each image is. And some of them, like this, is not meant to be anything. What I'm drawing right now, a bunch of blobs with eyeballs, this isn't meant to really be anything other than a way for me to just kind of unwind and show the process. And honestly, I find that the stuff that I do, it's such a weird mix. It's such a 50-50 mix for me of, outside of the rare times where I've actually had commissioned pieces, which honestly there haven't been that many. There really haven't because, I'm a failed artist, you know. So I don't have a ton of commissions. I don't, I've done small stuff here and there, but a lot of it's been accidental, to be honest about it. There's a musician named Gregorio Franco who I saw a really neat picture that somebody had taken of him. Or I think it was a manipulated picture. So I think what he did was he went in and deep in the shadows, and he basically blew out the contrast on it. Made it look very, very monochrome, very black and white. And I thought it was a neat image. So, and I don't usually work in what I call reverse, which is I usually work like this, which is a white quote unquote canvas with black, or I don't do a lot of color, at least initially. I usually do it like this, basic pen and ink type style. And for that image, it was mostly inverted, where the details, the actual stuff that you would see was white. And so I did this image of him in white, using white on black in Procreate in here, and then put in some graphical elements, that type of thing, because he does dark synth, and I kind of made it, demonic and all that stuff. I went and I got some actual wizard glyphs, or actual traditional witchcraft glyphs, that type of thing, and built like did some skulls and tentacles. And he saw it, and he was like, "Wow, that's really great. Can I give you some money for it?" I'm like, "Sure, if you want to." I mean, but he didn't commission it. It was just something that I did because I thought it was a neat image, and I said, "Yeah, you can use it. Go for it." And he was nice enough because he does graphics work. He's like, "Well, I'm going to compensate you for it." I'm like, "That's fine. I'm not going to say no to money," but I certainly didn't expect it because he hadn't asked for it. But that's half of the stuff is like this, just pure stuff that comes out of my head, and the other half is kind of almost, just random things that catch my interest. It could be a visual of somebody. In fact, I do a lot of those, and I'm not good at portraits. I'm not. I luck out sometimes. Certain people with certain faces I can capture close. I would never, I don't think there's anybody, I cannot think of anyone in my entire history of doing artwork where I got them one to one, like really managed to. No, I can't think of one person that wasn't what you would graciously call a caricature. So, and that's okay. Again, it's whatever. It doesn't matter. It's just it's not a skill that I've got. There are people who can do portraiture. There are people who can really render people amazingly faithfully. It's amazing. It's it's just a skill I don't have. I don't really care anymore though. That's one thing is, and this is kind of where I was going, was this idea of letting go of what I think a lot of times people interpret as the way art, quote, should be, unquote, how it should be. That you always work in realism, that you can get shadow and light accurately. Because if you look at somebody like Mike Mignola, I mean, his shadow work is incredible, but it's not accurate. I mean, it is in the broad strokes, in the most loose interpretation, it's accurate. But he's not doing, because one of the things you get taught, in at least I did, and you often see this in art books and that type of thing, is the idea that shadows are not to the edge. So when you here, I'll give you an example. Just draw it, right? So if you have an orb or a circle like this, one of the things that you find out, or one of the things that you will see in art books a lot of times, is shadows aren't usually like this, right? That's not how realistic shadows usually are. If your light source is here and you're shining, right? That's not how shadows in realism actually generally work. What you have is what's called underlighting. So if this is your shadow line, what a realistic quote unquote shadow would look like would be more like this, because you have an edge, and that edge, here's your bright light, yes, but then you might have a surface or some reflective material here that is also radiating light. Not, I'm sorry, those look like smell lines, but whatever. And so in actuality, the shadow would look more like, you know, this would be a real shadow where it's picking that light up. And even that's not really accurate. So let's say that surface was green. Okay, so this surface here is, oh, I didn't pick the green, sorry. So if this surface is green, it's a complete detour. What else is new? So some of this light is going to come back as green light. And so what you will have in a shadow is it wouldn't be pure green, obviously. It depends. I mean, it could be, but it would generally be more like a muted green. So you see you're picking that green up, right? And this is a very, very, very high level version of it. But that's what I mean about that's realistic shadow, right? That's realism. And that's kind of how a lot of people are traditionally taught to do things. But that doesn't necessarily translate to art. And that's why when you have somebody like Mike Mignola who might draw a rock, let's this is a Mignola-esque rock as best as I can do it. His shadows are more like this, where there's just tons of black, and then he uses like harsh particle kind of stuff, and therein lies a Mignola rock, right? So then you can easily see kind of like a Hellboy hand here throwing said rock, right? And I'm not really trying. Does Hellboy have? He has three fingers, right? And he has the big thumb thing. So if you do like a Hellboy hand, I guess like that, and then the thing with the big rock, which again, I'm butchering this. I know it's like swirls and stuff, but this is So if you did this realistically, your shadow lines would be kind of like this. They would not be uniform. Whereas Mike Mignola's shadows are going to be like this. These big, harsh, really just rocky, craggy blacks that just dominate the form. And is that realistic? I mean, don't get me wrong, a giant rock hand throwing a rock is not realistic, but this is what makes his style what it is. It's not an adherence to realism. It is the fact that this jumps off the page at you and you go, oh wow, look at that form, these giant big forms. Like that's what Mike Mignola would be drawing, something like that. That's actually probably the best Hellboy hand I've ever done, and it's not a very good Hellboy hand. But in any event, that's what I'm getting at. This is a long, long detour with Hellboy hands, and I can't even pretend that I'm going to be able to do a Mike Mignola thing. But this is what you would see, and then you would, Hellboy yelling, "Hey!" Word balloon, woo! Right? Okay. All of this a roundabout way of saying that doing something like this, the blobs. Okay, let's get rid of Mike Mignola hand. There we go. Is not something as when I was younger I would have said as artwork, because I would have been so focused on, okay, the light source is here, right? So what would the substance of the blob look like? And should I make sure these forms? I would have spent an hour trying to work that out, and it would have just ruined any, the more free flowing feel of the picture or the image. So I don't do that stuff anymore. But again, it's something I think a lot of people do. Now it's a lot easier to get away from that, because now you could just go and find these artist communities where a lot of people are just like, look, make whatever you're going to make with the imperfections and whatever. And you may stumble into a type of style that is not anywhere near what you would have associated with traditional art, but it is for you. And that's absolutely correct. Creation should not be dictated by some set of rules or dogma or structure or who says what. I mean, the only thing that almost everybody can agree on and should agree on is don't rip off somebody else's work. Don't take somebody else's work and trace completely over it and just mimic it and then sell it or whatever as your own. Yeah, that you don't want to do because there is no creation there. That is literally taking tracing paper. But that said, if you can't get an arm right or something and you find an image of a bodybuilder or something that has their arm in the position you need and you want to do the basic blocking forms over that, there's nothing wrong with that because you're still going to add what you're going to add on top because you're not just going to put an arm. You know what I mean? That's there's this thing where people get a confusion of any, I don't want to even say tracing, but any lifting of reference because it goes back and forth. The fidelity to reference can be a problem when you have too much of it, where it gets in the way of what you're making. If you're too worried about replicating life, it will get in the way of you. It will stop you from doing something. On the other hand, you shouldn't be afraid to be able to reference life where it's necessary, even if you can't do it out of your head. So, anyway, I don't know what I'm sitting here doing an art lecture, I guess, which is not what people are here to see. So I apologize because I'm just going on and on and on now. So, all right, back to the eyes. Let's do some inlaid, I don't know what we're going to call this, muscle, whatever. Got it somewhere? Yeah. All right, so let's do this. And yeah, we'll just do, see, this is where I'm not going to worry about the lines going across because I'll just erase them. I'm just going to do some, you know, radiating lines. And I suppose I should give myself kind of a relative north, south, east, west, just so that these are going to end up being kind of internal muscle structures or whatever this eyeball is sitting in within its little flesh pouch here, which is quite a disgusting term. But so I'm going to basically, now I could, some people would, and this is a time saving thing, but this is not really, these streams are not about saving time because this image is not really anything. I mean, at some point, I, I guess I don't know what I would actually do with this. I could actually add stuff on the bottom and I don't know what this would ever be, but I could, if I was in a rush, I could just take this and duplicate it and move it around, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not gonna, because that's not the point. The point is just to kind of, you know, do this thing naturally and organically. And plus, people would see it. You can always tell when somebody duplicates art when they're doing, and it's not. And again, this is not to criticize that, but it tends to be easy to pick up on the repetition. That's what for people who are old enough to remember these, or I assume they're probably still in some pediatric offices. But what do you call it, the highlights magazine, where you spot the differences between the two images. One of the things that's really great at is giving you this pattern recognition basis. So what you'll see is, and this is one of the ways that you can spot photoshops and stuff like that, is there are these telltale replicated areas, things that repeat, and that's kind of the giveaway. So yeah, that's one thing highlights helps you with is being able to spot somebody who's repeating something. I mean, don't get me wrong; it's a lot harder now in the age of Photoshop. Trying to spot repeats is not as easy as it used to be. You used to really be able to tell quickly when somebody was doing some kind of digital or image manipulation, even digitally. Now, phew, not so. I mean, I haven't actually looked. I'm curious if anybody has done this. Somebody's done it, I'm sure. Is Photoshop now has this thing called content aware fill, which, man, content aware fill from when I remember using Photoshop, you want to talk about just almost unfathomable jumps in what is achievable now. Photoshop is one of those areas where you absolutely can literally see it because what content aware fill does is mind blowing compared to what we used to have to do. And don't get me wrong, I am by no means a Photoshop expert. So there are people who I just happen to have used it a long time. That's the only reason for my ability with it. I'm just being honest with you about it. It's not that I have some great command on it. There are lots of things I do in Photoshop that real Photoshop professionals, people who do this stuff for a living, image retouching and photo manipulation, they would be horrified at how inefficient it is. But one thing that is remarkable is now with the content aware fill thing, you can do this stuff where the system, Photoshop itself, figures out so much of this for you. And it really does. It will go in, it will analyze everything around a certain part of an image, and it will then copy it and duplicate it. And what I'm curious about is because when we used to do you'd use a clone stamp and the smudge tool and that type of thing, it'd be very easy to pick those alterations up. With a you could figure out that somebody altered something by analyzing the photo fairly easily. Now with something like content aware fill, I don't know if it's as easy anymore because now that the system is see, I don't know if the system is watermarking it in some subtle way where you could very easily tell that content aware fill was used, or if it's doing such a good job that it would be difficult to even pick up those changes. I really don't know. I'm sure somebody, I will have to look. I would be fairly sure somebody has done that analysis. I mean, I can't imagine. If I thought of it, somebody's thought of it. But man, I wonder how good it is because it is amazing, amazing what content aware fill can do now. Its ability to generate what is not there and in some ways cover up what not cover up, but yeah, more like generate what's not there, kind of just pull it out of the thin air, basically. Which is not pulling it out of thin air; it's doing an analysis of the image and is trying to match it. But often it does it very well, and you can refine it in heavy ways that are just, like I said, compared to how it used to be, where I would spend, a couple hours just trying to. The classic example is, somebody is in a picture, in the background of a picture, and you want to get rid of them. The way you used to have to do that, I mean, don't get me wrong, again, people who are experts at this stuff and do it all the time, they're going to be better at it. But it's impressive. It really is to see somebody who could do it the old way, but then to realize what the system can do for you now, where you don't have to do that stuff anymore. It's amazing. It really is. It's impressive. So, in any event, I've spent how long have I been doing this for now? 37 minutes just blabbing about nothing. I think the same individual has been here the whole time. So thanks for sticking around. I hope this has not been completely mind numbing. It's not meant to be, but as you can see, I stop when I'm thinking sometimes, and that is the Italian in me coming out where I'm using my hand to gesture at nothing as I'm speaking, which is just ridiculous, but it's a genetic thing, man. What do you want from me? Can't help you. It's just nothing I can do about it. It's the way it goes. So I think what I will do, how many eyes are in here? I will do a few more whatever we're calling these folds, ripples, which, they won't look like this when they're done. I'll go in and clean this up. So this will all stop. As an example, I'll do this, where so you'll have the clean edges there, but with a smaller brush. I keep doing it like that. I'm going to start erasing what's there, but that'll be for another stream. As I've said before, just, I'm not going to do this particular image will be entirely done in the stream. So you will actually at some point be able to, and maybe what I'll do is I'll take and kind of make a time lapse. Actually, no, Procreate already has a time lapse, so I don't have to make one out of it. But this stream will be a real time rendering of this image. So let's see. You got one eyeball in here. Yeah, I think that'll probably, we'll see. Let's see, how many eyeballs? You know what I'll do is I will do these, I will do the isolated eyeballs, and then I'll be done for the evening. And because there is a Yankee game on, and I'm missing some of it, which they're actually winning right now, so I want to watch them while they're doing well because, oh, I'm always expecting the inevitable fall because the Yankees just can't seem to get it together lately. Lately, meaning in recent years. Lately, in the last couple of weeks, they've been doing very well, but I'm just kind of waiting for that to fall apart because that's what happens. But that's okay. If you've been a Yankees fan in the last few years, you're certainly used to that. So we will just finish out some of these eyeballs, and then we'll be done with this. Uh, for this particular stream, and then we'll pick up with this on the next one. That's the other nice part about using a limited set of pen weights. Is I don't have to worry too much about forgetting what I did from last time because I can pretty much pick right back up. That's one benefit, I will say, of using a restrained set of pen types and weights. Because I mean, you look in here and look at how many pens there are just in this. That's just in the inking thing. Forget all the other ones. So you don't keep your stuff too limited, and you end up. And I've done this a couple times where I've forgotten how I did certain effects, so I want to go back and do another image in the same way, and I can't remember how I did it, and which is kind of embarrassing. But it's just how it is. Although this too, with this program and the way this stream works, you can actually see all this stuff, so it's a little bit better than just trying to go back and figure it out from a time lapse or just looking at my stuff. So, okay, that is the 1, 2, 3. Yep, that's all the isolated eyeballs. So, I think I'm going to wrap it up here. Right around 40 minutes anyway, so that's not bad. So, yeah, our eyeballs are coming along. We have added the light reflections for the appropriate ones, and we've done some eyeball musculature connections or whatever, tendons, eyeball tendons. And so we will pick this up next time, and I will keep going here, and we'll see whatever thing I'm going to ramble about that time. But thank you for stopping by. Hopefully, this was at least mildly entertaining, or at least not titanically boring. And yeah, everybody have I assume for most people it's still Thursday. However, depending on where you are in the world, perhaps it is Friday. So if it is, happy Friday. You're there ahead of me. Otherwise, have a wonderful rest of your evening. Oh, somebody else just joined. I'm sorry. I was just wrapping up and somebody else just joined. Well, now I feel terrible. All right, we're going to do a couple more set of eyeballs. I would feel bad. Somebody just joins and I'm instantly stopping the stream. So let's do, you know what? Let's do these two eyeballs. Then I'll wrap up for the evening. That would just make me feel really scummy if am I on True Black? No, I am. Okay. I would kind of feel bad if somebody just pops in to see me say, all right, bye, and just shut the stream off. So I will do these two eyeballs, and then I will be done for the evening, which won't take me long. So unfortunately, you popped in for not much. So sorry about that, but just I've been doing these eyeballs for a while now. I did all these other ones for whoever just joined, so you can see how I did all the little lines on all these other ones, and rambled about Photoshop and how long I've been using it, which just dates me. I don't actually think I said what version, but I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I've been using Photoshop since version 2. That's right, version 2, which is a long time ago. And I started using it thanks to a photography teacher, actually. She was a teacher who really believed in the idea of doing like multimedia. She wanted you to be able to operate an actual film camera, the old type, when it took film, we had to develop the film, the whole thing, which I'll tell you what, I don't miss that because those chemicals were nasty, man. I do not miss that part. There are people who really miss film. And there's value to film, don't get me wrong. I understand why some people really kind of are sad to see everything go digital. But man, developing pictures, ugh, not fun. Because the chemicals, you just didn't want to be breathing them. You had to be real careful. If you exposed the thing for too long, you blew it out. I mean, there was so much to it that now with digital tools, you're doing the same things. Don't get me wrong. It's exposure and contrast and all the rest of it. But you can undo something now. You can take a photo and not destroy it. Whereas when you're literally developing film, you destroy it. I mean, you have the negative, don't get me wrong, but if the negative is distorted or you open the camera and don't realize that you don't have, because some cameras, if you didn't reel the film all the way back in, you open that camera, that's it, history. All those photos are shot and you're not getting them back. With digital, oh man, to literally be able to make copies of photos and not have to worry about destroying them is unbelievable. It's like what I was talking about with Photoshop. It's just the power that you have now with computing, even on a phone. It's just incredible. It's amazing the stuff that you can do now. As much misery and bad things that there are in the world, and there are, don't get me wrong, I am not trying to sugarcoat the more terrible aspects of modern life right now, especially right now, but in recent years. One thing that really continues to just astound me And one of the few things about getting old that is sort of a positive is to see how much power has evolved in computing. It's really, really astonishing. All right, now I'm going to wrap up because I've been doing this for a while and I'm not in the most ergonomic position for my hands, so it's starting to bother me. So I'm going to wrap up for this Thursday evening for my Doodle Thursday stream. Thank you, everybody who stopped by, and we will continue this on the next stream. We'll keep going on the the big bag of eyeballs or whatever this is going to be called. Otherwise, if it is still Thursday for you, have a wonderful Thursday evening, I assume. I doubt there's many people listening who are at a Thursday morning, I don't think. And if any of you are already into Friday, then have a wonderful Friday. Enjoy your weekend and take care. Take it easy. Enjoy your weekend whenever it comes to you. And we'll talk to you again next time. All right, everybody. Have a great night.